Today I'm going to talk about soulmates and past life regressions and what you can learn through a past life regression about your soulmate. All right, so let's get into it. My name is Sanaa Green and I am a past life regression hypnotist. I use the quantum healing hypnosis technique method that was created or put together by Dolores Cannon. And I guide people to move beyond their conscious mind so that they can connect to aspects of themselves that they need in this life in order to live, breathe, and have their being in the center of their power. I primarily work with women. However, since I started doing quantum healing hypnosis, I've actually had a few men who came. So I work with men and women. And, I'm open to whoever wants to come. So today, I'd like to share some information about soulmates, past life regression, and what you can learn. Every time I get on the camera, I'm like, oh, okay, let me look. I look a little bit. I'm always checking myself out. But anyway, so what is a soulmate? Many believe that human beings incarnate within soul groups, that there are groups of souls that we have been working with throughout multiple lifetimes, and then we decide to incarnate again in this life. So often, if you should do a past life regression, you get a chance to actually maybe see someone that you've incarnated with before. Before I get into some of the experiences that I've seen with people who have connected to soulmates, I'd like to talk about a little bit more about soulmates. Now, soulmates are separate souls. They are generally companions, and a lot of times the relationships are harmonious and supportive and long-term. Your soulmate could be your parent, your brother or sister, your friends can be soulmates. You can have, like, your manager could be a soulmate, somebody you work with. So it could also be your romantic partner. However, it doesn't have to be. And we have so many soulmates. Actually, I just read something recently that most of the souls that are on the earth now have been incarnating for years and years and years, and have loved each other in some way, shape, or form. So I'm still wrapping my head around that one. That's something that I read from the Arcturians, from the Arcturian Council. And a soulmate can be very comforting, very nurturing. Sometimes, though, love, we have to understand, is not always the divine mother type love. Sometimes love has to teach in a way that is uncomfortable. And sometimes we only move or shift when we are uncomfortable. And that's kind of the reality of it. A lot of times soulmates, they feel like home. They feel like somebody that you've known before. You feel really comfortable with them. You can talk to them. Even if you argue, you can talk, like my mother. My mother would often say things, and she often was because she was empathic and intuitive, she would say things that were my fears, but I would say something that was not the fear. I was trying not to speak the fear into being, and she would go beneath that and speak the fear out. And I always felt she was being mean and cruel, and sometimes the way she said it was really fussy, which is like a lot of Black women. However, there were times when we could just really talk and really have really deep, in-depth conversations where the truth could really be told. So I know my mother is a soulmate, and so is my father. But not all the relationships. But there were years, though, where we were really at odds, my mother and I, even though we're soulmates. Now, soulmates also can be enemies, technically. And recently I did an article on my website, centerherpower.com. I wrote a blog post about twin flames. Now, I don't believe in twin flames. They may exist, but in my reality, having one person who is your perfect mate or your exact duplicate, to me doesn't resonate. It doesn't resonate because I know that there are an infinite number of souls who can be mates for you. There are an infinite number of souls who can be mates for you because you've probably lived thousands of lifetimes. So during that time, you have probably incarnated with a lot of different people. Just think of all the people you know now. People you work with, people who live on your block, people who are in your family, cousins, aunts, second cousins. All of them could be soulmates. So to believe that there's just one person, just this one thing for you, and to me, it also plays into this whole concept, this whole concept of love that we've been taught, where there's this forlornness or this hopelessness about love, where somebody loves each other, but despite all the things that they try, they can't get together. That's not romantic to me. I know that's what we've been taught, that that's romantic, but to me, it's not romantic, and it's not realistic. When you look at the nature of the infinite and eternal presence of the source, of the creator, of God, then you realize that the infinite and eternal presence has created all of these beings. We're all a part of this one infinite and eternal presence. So why would there only be one person for us when there are so many souls who we are connected to? We may not have the awareness that we are connected. We may not have the and we may not in this life, but when we go to the other side, when we pass on from this life, then you may realize just how connected people are. Now, you could have the experience of everything being related and everything as one. I had it a few times. It was a fleeting experience where I just had the realization that everything was connected and we were all a part of one source. However, it was fleeting, and I went back to the veil of forgetfulness about what life really is, so that I could have this experience as a human being living as Sanaa Green in the United States. So with a twin flame, there's a lot of interest about twin flames. And even though I don't believe in them, I'll talk a little bit about them and we can kind of compare and contrast. So I have some notes over here that I'm looking at. So now a twin flame, people say, are one soul split into two different bodies. It's possible. I can't say with all certainty that it's not possible. I can't say that because I don't know at all. However, if that's the case, then, it would be interesting. There was one of my colleagues in quantum healing hypnosis who talked about a client who came in and saw her soul split into two different iterations of life, and one was the mother and one was the daughter. I'm not sure exactly how it all worked, but we were discussing some of the ins and outs of what it might mean to be a twin flame, and how a spirit might actually be existing in multiple planes. I do believe that spirits are existing in multiple lives at the same time. However, for the lives to be so connected, it seemed really odd to me. But it could be true. I don't know. Generally, the purpose of a soulmate is for companionship, support, harmony. For a twin flame, often is spiritual awakening, growth, and transformation. And a lot of times twin flame relationships are tumultuous. Because they spark a part of us that needs healing, that we need to have reflected so that we can see ourselves in another light. So the twin flame relationships are necessary. I mean, your soulmate could also be, could be someone who is contentious with you. So anyway, now usually with a twin flame, from what I hear, it's a very magnetic connection that draws people to the other. And that's, to me, that's romantic too. And maybe I'm kind of cynical. Maybe I'm a little bit cynical, but I believe that love and people who love each other should be able to come together with an open heart. And now I'm still working on manifesting this in life. However, my assertion is that if your heart is open and you're loving, then you can just be drawn to each other. And hopefully there won't be a lot of conflict or friction. Friction is kind of a part of the duality on earth and in this life, and that's how we're learning. And as we are ascending, we're learning to be able to grow spiritually without the conflict and friction. So that's another thing with twin flames. Do we really want to meet another twin flame so that there's more friction? I don't know. Now, the mirror effect. A lot of times we really don't want to see a mirror. I don't really want to see a mirror a lot of times because I don't want to see myself, and I want to see myself in the most positive. Well, now I want to see myself in the most positive light. So, but a twin flame can be a real mirror. Now, with a soulmate, it can be very complementary. Like the personality and the relationship and the way that you two interact can be very complementary. And to me, that's what I want. I want that harmonious, nurturing relationship. With a soulmate, with a twin flame, it's probably going to be tumultuous, conflict, fighting. It's going to be this whole thing about separation and coming together, and which is probably what a lot of the romance novels are written about, romance movies are written about. Now, with a soulmate, if you would like to connect to someone who you believe is a soulmate, you can do it through quantum healing hypnosis. As I mentioned earlier, in quantum healing hypnosis, there's the opportunity to go to a past life. You don't always go to a past life, but it's possible. Sometimes the healing that needs to happen is in this life, something that's happened in this life. When you go to the past life, you can get a chance to see who's interacting with you. And often you can tell that the person in that life, even though they may be someone have a relationship that's totally unrelated to what you currently know, they could be your soulmate, and you can see them as someone that you know, as your father or your mother, and maybe in that life they're your daughter. Or maybe this is, someone that you work with. So you can get a chance to know who your soulmates are. And also then when we call forth the higher self, you can ask about certain people in your life to see if you have incarnated with them before. And if they are soulmates, then you know for sure. So let's say there's somebody that you love and you really want to be with them, and you've been wondering what's going on and you want to still find out where them fans at. To bring the fan out. But you have to, you can find out who the person is to you and how they are related to your life and what relationship you can have. Let's say, if somebody, maybe you met someone years ago, you've always wondered who they were and whether or not you would get back to them. You can find out if you will actually see them again. And the truth is you may not, you may or you may not, but you can find it out. And you can see why you have the type of relationship that you have, why there's a certain type of conflict, and what your relationship is. In one situation, there was a person who had been, in a previous life, they had been really good friends. And in this life, they were like grandfather and grandson and grandfather. In another situation, there were two people who were enemies before. They were sisters. In this life, they were mother and daughter, and they were trying to work out their karmic relationship and trying to soothe things and heal the relationship. But however, they weren't able to do it because the past conflicts kept arising. And so even though they were mother and daughter, and this really has the opportunity to be really nurturing and loving, it didn't work out. All right, so you can definitely find out if someone is a soulmate through past life regression. If you'd like to get more information about having your own personal past life regression, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Sanaa Green. You can find me at www.sanaagreen.com, sanaagreen.com, or sanaa@centerherpower.com. And if you go to my website too, my phone number's there, so you can text me and we can talk and maybe set up a time for you to do an exploration on whether or not past life regression through hypnosis is for you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm out here in my sunroom and it's warm today, so I'm feeling like it's sunny. I feel like it's summer, even though yesterday it was a little cooler, but I'm glad for the sun today. And be well.